Welcome, welcome. We are live, and I am your host, Dana Miranda, the influential petite. I am here to help you level up your life and give you some women's empowerment tips. Today, we are starting the new year. It is January the 4th, so we are talking about implementing a game plan for the new year. That's the topic, implementing a game plan. And so, I'm going to give you a few tips along with my colleague Ashley Janae, who I'll bring in just a minute. So once again, I'm Shadana Miranda, and I am a transformational coach. And my why is to encourage and inspire women to live a life of passion and purpose so that they experience a sense of self-fulfillment. So I'm always on a journey of self-fulfillment, and I always encourage women to be self-fulfilled no matter what they're doing in life. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my colleague up 1 second, and we are going to get started. Okay, here she is, Miss Ashley Janae. Hey there, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. It's the new year, just waiting on my colleague, Ashley Janae. The topic today is implementing a game plan. Hey, Ashley.
Hey.
Thank you for joining. So I was just telling our viewers we are in the new year. Welcome to 2022. So it's time to put your game plan in place. Our topic today is implementing a game plan in the new year. And so we want to help you get started with some great tips, some tricks, and just make sure you keep your momentum up for the year. So do you want to start today, Ashley, or should I?
I'll give you the grace to start.
Okay, why not? So let's see what tips. I have some notes, guys, because I was taking notes earlier about what I wanted to talk about implementing in your new life. So the first thing I want to talk about is to pray over your life. And it's something that sounds so simple, it really makes a difference. You really have to pray for what you want. And I would suggest being intentional with your prayers. So something that I would suggest is you're praying for your health situation. Maybe you have cancer or diabetes and you want to, in the new year, be in diabetes free or cancer free. That's something to pray for. Maybe you want to buy a home. That's something that you can go to God in prayer for. But I will also be intentional how you pray, right? So I was given an idea to purchase something called keys, like go to like a Home Depot or some type of Ace Hardware or Lowe's and buy you some keys and pray over them and name those keys. 1 second, my battery is going low. Sorry about that. Gotta charge my computer. So yes, buy you some keys. So maybe buy 3 keys, plain keys from Home Depot, and then mark those keys. Pray over those keys and be intentional about what you name them. So for instance, one key could be home ownership. So you can pray over that. The next key could be maybe you want a new car. The next key could be an office for your business. I mean, it can be anything, but be very intentional about what you do. Because I'm actually planning to do that myself. Is buying some keys and praying over them, because when you pray over stuff, they're more likely to come true. So that's my first tip for implementing a game plan. And I would say don't always expect instant gratification. So if you buy a key for and you label it home, you may not buy a home till December 2022, but it's important that you still purchase that key because you're going to pray over that key and it will come into fruition. Look like I lost my colleague, but I'll keep talking until she joins again. So the second thing I want to say is seek help. We are not made to live in community alone. So I'm always telling people to seek help. That could be life coaching, that could be counseling, that could be some type of therapy. We're always going through something, and you can't always go through it on your own. Like I said, we were made, we need each other. So if you need help, like as a guidance for your life, seek a life coach. I worked with a life coach when I was at the lowest point in my life. So I know the transformation that it has on your life. I also saw counseling at one point in time. And when I went to counseling, I was like, I don't really need that, but somebody suggested it. And then I'm sitting in counseling like, wow, it's so therapeutic. And I'm telling my counselor everything about my life, literally, like he knew everything. So, yeah, so definitely seek counseling. Like I said, you can't do life on your own. Don't be afraid to do it. Sometimes it's a stigma in communities of color, Black communities. But let me tell you, I am a Black woman who have worked with a life coach and have worked with a counselor and have seen the transformation over my life, the peace that it gave me, the mental health. Uh, clarity that it gave me is just so amazing. And now I look at other people who's going through problems, who's never had help, and I'm like, oh my God, y'all need a counselor, like, because I can't be your counselor. But I'm just saying, seek help if you need it. It's good to talk to friends, but sometimes friends can be a little biased, and you don't need biased opinions in your life. So that's my second one, seek help. And my third one is just become wiser and educate yourself. Figure out how you can build knowledge or become an expert in your field. If you're working as an esthetician, like, can you read more books about esthetician? If you're working as a cosmetologist, you may be one of the best cosmetologists, but you can always get better.
Right.
You're an engineer. What type of classes you can take as an engineer to step your game up? So always be willing to go that extra mile to educate yourself. Even if you can't afford to take a class, find what type of articles you can read. You're trying to become an entrepreneur. Maybe you don't have the funding to start your business right now, but you can start subscribing to the Entrepreneur magazine and start reading about other startup businesses. So it's always ways that you can be innovative and make things happen for yourself. So just a recap. Pray over your life and be intentional. Go and get them keys, y'all, and pray over, because I'm going this week. Okay, house key, new car key, everything. Seek help. Life coach, counselor. Don't be afraid to seek help. We were made to live into community. And become wiser. Always educate yourself. Be a lifelong learner. That's the only way that you can truly grow in this world. So I hope that helped out, and I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Miss Ashley Janae, who always just knock it out the park.
And so do you. I am so thankful to be back. We are back for
Yeah,
a brand
I
new
know.
year. So just
I
want to say hey to
know.
everybody, and I hope you had a great holiday season.
Mhm.
So I really, really love the tips that you shared. It was like things that were kind of outside of the box that people wouldn't normally think of, like how they can kind of get their wheels turning on how they would prepare themselves for a new goal or the new year or whatever.
Yeah.
The key idea is genius. I'm definitely going to try that because I love that
Yeah.
idea. And imagine
Yeah.
imagine how many times we pick up our keys on a day-to-day basis, and even if
Mhm.
you were to put the keys on your key ring and say, hey, this is my key to my new house. I'm opening my door to my new house. It's like that constant
Right.
reminder on a day-to-day basis. That is dope. So
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
All right. So I too have 3 tips. So I was thinking more so along the lines of if you are really setting goals for the new year and you're like, okay, how do I make this happen? Because we all know the story. We start these New Year resolutions, and then by end of January, maybe I'll even give you to March, they're like long gone, right? I mean, can we be
Yeah.
honest? Like we've all been there, right? Because I think that
Mhm.
we set these major goals and we're trying to make these major life changes when we're not quite there mentally yet. And I say that with love and grace because I'm the same way. It's like, for example, if you are used to eating McDonald's, Taco Bell, all that stuff on a regular basis every single day, and then you try to clear out your fridge and just go to eating kale every day, that's not going to be the easiest shift. So the best way to do it is to make those little micro changes from day to day. So that's the approach that I'm taking with my 3 tips. So the first one is what you want requires a certain version of yourself. So it's not always about like, oh, I have to, prepare myself for this material thing. It's more so of a mindset and embodying that mindset before you try to become this completely different person overnight. So, for example, like I don't know what the goal could be. It could be a new house, it could be a new car, it could be, you know, a new business or whatever. But what are some of the things that you need to start doing now in order to embody that thing? So like something you were saying with your tip, you were like, sometimes we want to do these things, but maybe we don't have the money or we don't have the resources. But there's always something, and I know I've said this in some of my previous videos, but I'm big on repetition. So I want to get it like ingrained in your mind. But what are some of the things that you can start doing on a day-to-day basis right now? Like Miss Shadana mentioned, it's like, okay, is it a book that you need to start reading? Is it a mindset that you need to start embodying? Do you need to start getting up earlier in the morning, going to bed earlier at night? Like, what is it that you can start doing now that's going to help you embody that thing that you desire? And it's a little by little thing. So for example, if you know that you want to be an entrepreneur and you've studied entrepreneurs and they all wake up at 5 a.m., maybe you don't need to wake up at 5, but maybe try waking up 30 minutes earlier than you normally do. And in that 30 minutes, journal, read a book, do something, do a little micro task that's going to put you closer to having that business that you desire. So start embodying those things, which kind of leads me into step number 2, which is simply develop a daily routine that reflects the thing you want. So if you're that person that wants to change your body or get a new job or whatever the case may be, start waking up like you already got a job. Start ironing your clothes and get ready for that call when these people are going to say, hey, we want you, we want you to start tomorrow, whatever the case. Or get ready like you already have clients coming in. If you want to schedule your calendar, let's just say, for example, to have clients from 8 to 5 throughout the day, you should probably get up and start getting dressed so you can be ready at 8. So that way, when the stuff starts to roll in, you're not shuffling trying to get ready for that thing. You've already embodied it through the daily routine that you've created starting already, okay? So that's number 2. And then number 3 is gonna be flexible. Be flexible on the how, because a lot of times we do make these plans and we make these elaborate vision boards or whatever. We're like, I have to, make this amount of money, or I have to create this thing this way. But let's just be honest, there's so many different ways to skin a cat. I'm sure we've all heard that saying, right? So you have a goal, but there are 3,000 different ways that you can get to that goal. So be open and flexible on the ways that you can get there, and not so like strong on like it has to happen this way that I planned it. Be open that you can get the things that you desire in any divine way, because God's ways are not our ways. And a lot of times I have to wrap myself around that, because sometimes we can get so wrapped up in the fact that, oh, well, this hasn't happened in the way that I planned it, or this hasn't happened in the time frame that I planned it. But guess what? There's another thing coming down the pipeline that will still get you to where you want to be. So just reflecting, the first one is going to be to become the version of yourself that has the thing that you desire. So that's tip number 1. Then tip number 2 is going to be to develop a daily routine that works for you around that new version of yourself. And then tip number 3 is going to be to be flexible on the way to get to the thing you desire. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like
I want to touch on 2 things that you mentioned. One of the things you talked about being flexible, like that is so important. And you also mentioned like instant gratification. I'm coming with it. You kind of said, God, our ways are not God's ways. And sometimes the things that we want in life may come, but it may not come how we were expecting it. And I can relate to that, because I created a vision board. I have a lot of vision boards in my house. And most of the things are coming true on my vision board, but they're not coming true how I quite imagined them. For instance, I had a vision board. I've been having it like 2 years on my wall, and it's a work. On it, I had work from home. And so I had planned to work from home with my own business. That was my plan. But what happened was the pandemic happened in 2020. And so everybody had to go virtual. And I was like, I literally had to look back and was like, wow, God, I'm working from home, which is an amazing thing, but it didn't come how I thought it would come. I enjoyed the freedom and the flexibility of working from home, but I was working with my full-time job and I enjoyed it. So God made it come true, but it wasn't how I imagined it, right? I was working from home in my full-time job because I was preparing for my business, right? Because working with my job, I had to build up discipline, build up some structure before I could actually make that leap of faith and work for myself full time.
Mm-hmm.
So that I like what you said about that. And then you talked about I guess imagining something in your mind. What was the first tip? Like acting
Yeah.
as if you already have it.
Yeah, so the first one was basically like becoming the version of yourself that already has that thing. Because at the end
Yeah,
of the day, that's what we want. We don't necessarily like we think we want the things, and yes, we may want the material things in the moment, but after you get
yeah,
it, you're like it wears off after a while. It's like okay, well, I
it
got the new
does.
car, I got the new house, it's cool, I'm used to it. But you want that feeling of like, ooh, I just got this new car, ooh, I just got this new house, and that's something that you can embody now. That's the version of yourself that you
Hmm.
can embody now. Like without it doesn't require any money. It doesn't require any resources. All it requires is for you to shift your mindset and start that
Hmm.
repetition so that way you can start, or the divine power of God can kind of start moving things around so your
Hmm.
perception changes, and then the
Hmm.
opportunities that you start seeing starts to change as well. Like have you ever noticed, like for example, if you say you want a type of car, and as soon as you say you want that type of car, then you start seeing it everywhere in traffic. You start seeing it when you're at
Hmm.
the stoplight. Your friend just bought it. Like
Hmm.
it starts to pop up everywhere. Like that's how our mind works. Like the more like once we make a decision, we're like, okay, I want that thing. Then you start seeing more of that thing. Then you start kind of embodying that thing. So that's really what I'm talking about when I mean become the version of yourself. Like start to let that thing be a part of your daily routine, basically.
I agree with that. And
Mm-hmm.
when I started changing my mindset and envisioning a life that I wanted to have, like I see myself being a homeowner. So I would go and visit homes, like look at it. I'm not ready to buy, but I envision myself buying a home. I would go to the car dealership and test drive cars. I
Mm-hmm.
eventually want to drive a Lexus.
Yeah.
And so when I started envisioning those things and acting as if I already have it, I graduated out of that poverty mindset. Because sometimes when you see things you want and you can't afford it, you're stuck in a poverty mindset. You're
Mm-hmm.
stuck in a mindset of lacking something, right?
Yeah.
And so when I started to envision myself having those things, it's just my mindset completely changed.
Yeah, and then when you just start opening yourself up to it, you're like, wait, well maybe it's really not that expensive. Maybe I just had it in my mind thinking that it was this big
Right.
grand thing. Because a lot of times we think, oh, well I gotta pay $100,000 for this car. Actually, you don't. How about you go to the dealership, find out how much it costs, find out if they're having any specials, find out if you have to put any money down, find out if your car has any value. Then you start realizing like, oh, well I don't even have to put any money down and I can get the car now. Like once you start
Yeah.
opening yourself up to stuff will open it itself up to you. That's a bit of a
Hmm.
tongue twister, but anyways.
That is so true. That is
Yeah.
so good. That was some good tips.
Hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
have any more? Should we?
Um,
Um,
I think that was something you were saying earlier. I was like, I had a thought about it, but I think that might have been it. No, I think that was it.
okay. Yeah, this was actually very good. I'm actually glad to be back because we
Yeah.
was off for 2 weeks. We really took our holiday break,
Yeah,
our
we took the
Christmas and New
holidays
Year's.
off
So
and let people enjoy their families and whatnot, but it's time to get back to it now.
time to get back to it. So that was exciting. So just want to let you know where you can find us. I'm Shadana Miranda. My social media pages are Influential Petite on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. And then Ashley, you can tell people how they can find you. And I also put my website in the description in the comments.
Most definitely. So the best way to find me right now will be on my website, which is www.fablab31.com. And then that'll have all of my information there because we are working on a lot of changes on the back end. So it's best to get plugged in there, and then I'll update you guys when it's time.
And we both work as coaches. So if you want life coaching, transformational coaching, make sure you reach out to us on social media, send us a DM or go to our websites. We will love to help you. We will
Most
be
definitely.
real. Yeah. So I think that's it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. And if you're catching a replay, thank you for joining. Make sure you leave us a comment. We'll be in the comment box, not just now, but later on. And we just appreciate you for tuning in, and we'll be back next Monday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We come on every Monday at 6 p.m. to give some type of women's empowerment tip to keep you going. So as you're continuing to grow, we're continuing to grow, and we're excited.
Most definitely. And like I always like to say, like, if you guys have any specific questions or things you want us to cover on Mondays, just let us know.
I know, let us know. And we're also thinking about bringing in some guests sometimes, because Ashley and I, we're experts in our field, but we don't know everything. So why not get, the opinion of someone else? So
Most definitely.
But that's it. But thank you for joining.
Thank you. See you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.